Hello, good morning, everybody. Can y'all hear me? Let me check, test, test. Hello, everybody. Happy Pride. I'm going to wait till I see in the chat that y'all can definitely hear me because I remember if last year or the year before I just went and did my whole spiel, like got like 3 minutes in and no one could hear me. But it's nice to see some of y'all in chat. We're gonna have a good day. One of our longest like streams, the virtual Pride streams that we've done. You can see in here. Amazing. Thank you, Emily. Appreciate you. Great. Okay. Well, happy Pride. This is our fifth annual. I was trying to do the math like as we were prepping for this, and yes, this is, I believe, our fifth annual uh, Extra Life Chicago virtual Pride Parade. Welcome. We're so proud, as it goes without saying, but we're so proud to continue to do this event every year. As the situation in the world changes, as the situation in Chicago changes, as the situation everywhere goes up and down, we consistently have the opportunity, thanks to Lurie Children's Hospital and thanks to the Extra Life Chicago Guild, to keep doing this event every year. And it means the world to me. And so I just wanted to start kind of with that sentiment. I want to acknowledge that this year is a particularly difficult year, and things just simply aren't the same as they were in years past. And I will be candid and say that I grappled a lot with how to handle that and how to have space for it while also still having our jubilation, still having pride, the celebration that we know it to be, and to still keep on coming together as a community to raise funds for a hospital that really is doing a lot of the work to safeguard people and safeguard children in our area, LGBTQ youth and otherwise. So just want to acknowledge, for people who may not be keeping up with it, of course, there's been all sorts of changes in the last 6 months, even, including a ban on trans people in the military. There have been implications that there's going to be Supreme Court decisions coming out soon about the right for gay people to get married in this country. There have been numerous attacks on sports bans and bathroom bans, in addition to very high profile attacks on youth throughout the country, particularly trans youth of color who have been particularly vulnerable. There have been bans on people being allowed to get passports or other legal documents to reflect their proper names and their gender identity. And more recently, I think important to highlight and be aware of, the national LGBTQ suicide hotline was dismantled, basically. And so through all of that, it's hard. You get down and you think about all of it, and it is a somber way to start the stream. But it's important to acknowledge that, along with the executive order that affects our own hospital, in terms of not allowing any gender affirming surgeries specifically under the age of 18. And so it's a lot. And in these moments, I think a lot about, and I've thought over the past few years about our history and where we've come from to get to where we are now, the good and the bad. And there's an old story that I always heard among queer circles that back in the day, there would be phone lines that would be kept open, and LGBTQ like clubs and gay bars, as they were kind of a burgeoning thing back in like the 70s and 80s, and they would keep phone lines open specifically so that people out in more conservative communities and more rural communities could call in and just listen to the sound of free, liberated queer people all in one space together, all in a safe place, having fun and celebrating and being able to be in community with each other. And I think that's very powerful. It hit me very hard. Sorry, it's hitting me hard now, just because it is indicative of the idea that they weren't able to, maybe for those particular people in those unsafe situations, weren't able to provide a safe space or a solution in the moment, but what they were able to provide was hope and the promise of community, the promise that there were people like them out there, and there were people out there who cared about people like them, and were allies to the cause, and just wanted them to hear that that other world was possible, the accepting world was possible. And I think that that's what I've been reflecting on, is the idea that this Pride stream, no matter what's happening, um, and all throughout the year, our guild will be there if you need to call in, and if you need to know that that world is possible, know that those people are there and are here specifically on this Pride stream to uplift LGBTQ streamers, members of our community. At the end of the day, you know, when you feel kind of powerless, the one thing you can do is you can pick up the phone. If somebody's calling in and reaching out for help, you can pick up the phone even if you can't solve the problems in that exact moment. And so basically, as I've been thinking about everything and contemplating how to go about celebrating this stream this year, I think it's really important to do it and to have it be a space where people can virtually, so to speak, continue this tradition of calling in, reaching out, and we will always pick up the phone. So that's my sappy opening. Good morning, everybody. On a happier note, let's talk about Lurie Children's Hospital. Let's talk about the stream that we do every year. We are Extra Life Gaming Guild, and we fundraise for Lurie Children's Hospital. They continue to do a lot of really important gender affirming services and services for LGBTQ youth, not just medical support, but they actually provide outreach and research. They're one of the top research hospitals for LGBTQ issues throughout the country. And in addition to that, they go to schools and they go to groups like the, formerly like the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts of America. I forget what it's called now. I think it's just like the Scouts of America, but they do trainings with them to underscore the importance of respecting people's sexualities and gender identities. So they're doing more than just providing immediate, life-saving, and necessary services for LGBTQ youth. They're also doing advocacy work and research work, and that's all extremely important as well. And so that's to keep in mind, because that's where that money is going. So some points about the gender development program. It provides informed, family-centered medical, behavioral, and social health support for gender diverse young adults and for their families. Every single one of the things that it does is personalized to the specific family. The program focuses on education. It provides pubertal blockers, hormone therapy as a part of gender affirming care. They also do like voice therapy as well, monthly social groups. And it's just for any gender expansive or gender non-conforming youth, including those who are questioning. And so we have a word real quick here, a video that was made. You'll recognize this person, Hidayah Safi. They use they, them pronouns. They are the manager of community programs for the adolescent and young adult medicines, and also the LGBTQ liaison for Ann and Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital. They made a very lovely video for us last year. They made another video for us this year. And so I'll be playing that in just a moment. And then I'll jump from that to kind of an informational video that they provided for us last year along with Raina, who works with the gender affirming care programs in the hospital. They made a video for us last year, kind of informational, kind of Q&A about what programs they provide. So we're going to jump to those right now. So there, you'll get a good view of where the money is going that we're fundraising for today. So jump into that.
Hello, and thank you for having us again. My name is Hadis, and I use they, them pronouns, and I work at Lurie Children's Hospital in the Division of Adolescent and Young Adult Medicine. As we roll into Pride Weekend 2025, things look a little bit different than last year. But we are here at Lurie Children's are continuing to advocate for LGBTQ plus youth and young adults while also connecting with local institutions to provide education and supportive services across Chicagoland. We continue to provide inclusive health education for students across the Chicagoland area, facilitating HIV and STI screenings for community members who may not have access, and linking interested young adults to PrEP to prevent HIV acquisition. We've worked with local organizations assisting in inclusive policy and operational development from school districts to summer camps. And we continue to have our monthly social activities for trans and gender nonconforming youth, so they have spaces to find other people like themselves, as well as our gender development clinic, which is still accepting patients and seeing them now. Thank you again for helping to support the work that my colleagues and I get to do in support of the LGBTQ plus community. This wouldn't be possible without streamers like you and Extra Life from the Children's Miracle Network. Happy Pride and have a good game.
Hello, gamers. My name is Hadith Safi. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm so excited to talk to you about Lurie Children's today. First off, thank you to everybody who's helping fundraise for Extra Life Chicago and Lurie Children's. We could not do the amazing work that we do without your support. So big thank you from us. And us includes my colleague, Raina Voss, who's going to join me here for a chat as well. So Raina, why don't you come join us and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us join your live stream. I'm Raina Voss. I use she, her pronouns. And I've been the medical director for the Gender Development Program at Lurie Children's for about 6 years now.
That's a long time. What does the Gender Development Program do?
We do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a medical provider, so some of the stuff that we do and stuff that I work with young people on is medical services. But there's a lot more than that as part of the program. So we get kids who come to us from all different ways, sometimes through their primary care provider, sometimes their family has found us, sometimes through their community or their mental health providers. Our team has mental health providers. We have medical social workers. We have medical providers like me. We have lots of research that's going on too. So we offer patients and families the opportunity to work with mental health providers if they could use that support for exploring their gender, if they're kind of trying to understand some of their goals. Hi, Dean. Thank you, for their gender transition. And if they need mental health support for other reasons, or because sometimes being trans is hard, and they might need help kind of navigating certain aspects of their life that relate to their gender.
Yeah, that's like a lot of really important stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned medical a lot.
Yeah.
And we often hear about hormones and puberty blockers. Is that something that we see, or is that a big part of like the work that we do?
Yeah, that's a big part of the work we do too. So we do that. I feel very lucky. We have, these awesome mental health providers that we work with in collaboration. So we can partner with them. They help to do what's called a comprehensive psychosocial evaluation for young people, if that's something that they're considering as part of their journey, and then involve families in that process too.
So parents are often in that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and then a lot of our kids get to be involved in research because we have a lot of research going on, whether it's related to their medical care, mental health. Both of those things are part of our research programs.
And I can say that based off of the research that I've done, having access to this care is really life-saving.
Yeah, there's increasingly evidence that that's true, that it improves psychological well-being for young people. So I'm very proud to be part of it.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
And I think for you, one of the big things that we do in our program is when we're talking to youth and their families about gender, we're also kind of trying to understand what their life is looking like. And so we're talking to them not just about like mental health or depression or anxiety, but also like, how's school, how's your support, what's your community look like? And that's where we really look to you and your team to be collaborative and kind of think about some of the pieces of young people's lives that are, that kind of extend beyond the four walls of what we can do in terms of like behavioral health care, medical care. So maybe you can also talk a little bit about the work you do.
Yeah, absolutely. You had mentioned all of the care that we were giving in terms of like medical care for our patients, but as they would come in and they would feel supported in the space they were at, but would share that they didn't have that same kind of support outside of like maybe the medical space and the home environment that they had. So we were like, well, where you need support? Where are you needing some extra attention? And often it was in the educational spaces. So there's schools that they were at.
Yeah.
So we found that the negative health outcomes that they were experiencing because of that could be impacted positively with our intervention of just going and talking to the schools and the leadership there and the teachers there on like how to be affirming to all students and how to make it welcoming for everybody, and really having a positive impact that way. And it just really took off because there's also growing evidence here where we see like positive health outcomes for young people that are in these positive environments, for not just our transgender and non-binary kiddos, but for their cisgender counterparts as well. So it's actually just really helping all of the young people have lower rates of depression, lower rates of anxiety, higher rates of self-actualization, also higher GPAs, better attendance, and more higher rates of graduation.
Cool.
Right?
That's awesome.
Super, super awesome.
And so what are some of the things that you cover, like if you were working with a school or doing like a training with a school?
Yeah, so we just kind of do like a broad overview of like the concepts, like what is being trans, like very high level stuff, but just so we all are on the same page. And then we kind of just go over like, here are the things that you can do to make a space more welcoming for the people that are here, right? So how to ask someone's pronouns, how to combat transphobia, either like with the words that you're using or your actions. I think that also really does tie into the advocacy work that we do at Lurie for trans families and trans patients as well, thinking about like the Vital Records Act that we partnered with a number of organizations across Illinois to pass various pieces of legislation like the Vital Records Act, which allows individuals to change the information on their birth certificates to be in line with their gender identity and really make it an affirming experience for people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've done some pretty awesome stuff here, and I think it's because I know it's because we care, but I think that we continue to see opportunities to advocate and to provide space for trans folks and non-binary folks to also be part of that, and it's really exciting to be a part of that system.
Yeah. And I also want just to hear a little bit, or if you can tell these guys a little bit about the work you do with our social groups for trans kids.
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier, it's hard being trans sometimes. And so to kind of give some reprieve from that, we have social groups once a month for littles, preteens and teenagers, where they get to come and like be with other trans youth their same age, and they get to just hang out, right? We'll have some educational sessions. We'll also just have some like we're watching movies and hanging out. It's just like very just getting to like be without having to like do a lot of the work around like being a trans person in public sometimes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know too, when you have the teen group, the parents get to have a group also at the same time.
Yeah, parents get to go do their own thing, and it also then gives like the teens like they don't want to hang out with mom and dad, right? So like they get to go do their thing, and the parents then have their own little like network as well.
And they get to talk too. And I've talked to a lot of my parents, my patients' parents, about it's sometimes really important for them to also have that community and support to say like, what are some of the like, things that you've learned during this journey, or what are some of the ways I might navigate this specific issue, or maybe it's with the school or, things like that. So
it's often really that, helpful. I mean, I've heard some wonderful things. Like I've had a parent talk through how she would practice her child's pronouns because she was like, I don't care what happens, but when he walks into that house, he will not be made to feel bad. And talked about that journey in front of some new parents who were like, oh, I totally get that. And they were like learning from each other. It's really a great resource for families. And also doesn't require the young person to have to do the work. Education.
And you don't have to be a patient in our program to join those groups too. So that's something that I think is great too.
I know that they'll share information to reach out to us and how to like get in contact with us. But before we leave our friends at Extra Life, I'm curious what you would say is one thing that you wish folks would think about or would do to help support trans young people and just trans people in general.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one that one that comes to my mind that we know is really helpful and powerful, and like there's research that shows, that it can really improve the psychological well-being of kids is just to use a kid's name and pronouns, or any person really, whether you're cis, trans, whatever, the name and pronouns that feel most affirming to you. Just to do that, just to use pronouns in particular, scientifically has been shown to improve psychological well-being. I think that's pretty cool. So that's the thing I would say. How about you?
I love that. Mine is actually pretty simple as well. We will never get over the phrase "that's so gay" in schools, it feels like, but interrupting any kind of transphobia or homophobia that you hear or that you see by like checking in and making sure like what was the intent, what were they talking about, right? Sometimes they might have been talking about something that was actually gay, right? They could be talking about pride. But if they're not, and it's something with like malice, if we interrupt that and make it known that that's not something that's okay, we are showing one to the community that that's not an acceptable behavior that we are going to allow, but also showing any like trans and queer and LGBTQ youth or adults in the space that they have allies there, and it does create a more positive environment by combating that in real time.
Awesome. That's great.
It's really, really powerful.
Well, thanks for talking to me.
Thanks for talking with me, and thanks for all that you were doing to raise funds. We are so excited to be a part of this journey with you. Have a great day.
Thank you guys. Bye.
All right. Well, thank you so much to them for making that video for us last year. I think it's really so like informational and good to know, and also just I really like the part at the end where they brainstormed and like talked about like, okay, what can you do now to support? Because I think a lot of us are asking that question, and I think it's a valuable conversation to keep having. The other thing I am going to show y'all that I think I love showing it every single year, so I'm glad that we got an updated video for this year, is Lurie Children's Impatient Pride Parade. This is a way to bring Pride celebrations to patients who cannot leave the hospital during Pride. And it's hosted by the Children's Services team within the Family Services. They focus on normalization, socialization, and fun for patient families. And every time I see this video, it's like clear that this is a really fun activity every year. Staff from departments all over the hospital like decorate these little trolleys. They're little like Pride Parade floats, and they visit all the inpatient floors. They celebrate with the patients and with the staff. Then the Skylight TV, which is like the closed circuit in-hospital TV network, films the parade, and then patients who cannot like actually see the parade or come to their doorway to like interact with it, they can watch it on the TV and like celebrate as well. So, and then the patients also get to vote on their favorite float each year. Jackie said that this year's winner was Lurie Children's Human Resources team, which featured a large inflatable shark that just kept getting stuck in all the doorways as it went around. So keep an eye out for that one, the winning float. And then also important, right before it, it's introed by a very sweet Pride video that was made by one of our patient champions, Charlie, who is very excited to do a little video for us this year. So without further ado, real quick before we kick it off to the streamers, let's watch a little joyful video about how Lurie celebrates Pride.
Hi, Extra Life Chicago. Thank you all for all you do for Lurie. Happy Pride.
cute, adorable, love it. Well, without further ado, we are going to get into the actual, streaming parade after seeing all of their little floats now to kick it off into ours. When we originally came up with this streaming idea back in 2021, right after the pandemic, pride parades were not actually going on. They got canceled because of the pandemic. And so, because of that, we wanted a way to kind of still gather and celebrate and have a safe space. And it's just kind of continued from there. And the idea that we kind of conceived of was that each individual person's streaming block was kind of like their own little pride float. So it's always cute every year to see the ones from Lurie's and then kind of jump from there into ours. And speaking of the first year, one of our streamers who's been with us from the very beginning is actually the next streamer, Judge JLo. We appreciate him always for continuing to be with us for this long and continue to be a supporter of this stream and have his streaming block. He's one of our just OGs since the very beginning. So from 10 a.m. to noon, we will have Judge JLo. And then if you're loving that, then sit tight after that because he will be one of our Pride panelists from noon to 1 p.m., where we will be having a panel about what it's like to be a queer extra lifer and a queer streamer, a gamer in general, hosted by our very own Jackie. And she will be hosting. How about that? There we go. That should do it. Okay. And that looks like that's coming in through. Sorry about that. Wouldn't be a stream without technical difficulties, but that's perfect because I'm going to pass it off anyway to Judge JLo. So, and then after we've got the Pride panel, just going back to that, we will have Michaela from 1 to 3, and then I will be streaming, your host with the most, from 3 to 5. From 5 to 7, we'll have Pink Clementina. From 7 p.m. till 9 p.m., we'll have Dat Boy Juice TV. And then from 9 p.m. to close us out until 11 p.m., we'll have the Windy City Ghostbusters representing like they did last weekend. So get ready. Sorry for that little delay there. But yeah, get ready for Judge JLo once again streaming with us. And happy Pride. Thank you guys so much for being here.